Welcome back, McGee TV viewers. So I finally got myself a PlayStation Classic. I've been eyeing this thing for quite a while. The price finally dropped to somewhere where I felt like it was appropriate for what I was getting. I did get me an AC adapter because this thing doesn't come with one. And I got me a non-branded case on Amazon. This thing's supposed to be kind of tailor-made for this. It doesn't have any kind of Sony branding on it, but I thought about maybe sewing a patch on it later. Just so I have like a logo on it and make it look a little sharper. I saw this thing and I just couldn't resist it, you know, tiny PlayStation. I'm a huge PlayStation fan. I had to get it, so I thought we'd do a little unboxing and talk about it. So, you know, let's check this thing out. Okay, so front of the box we got the classic Sony PlayStation look right here. I remember the original PlayStation's box. It was kind of similar from what I remember. As you can see, I got this thing for $59.99 at GameStop. I've actually seen it lower now. I've seen it as low as $39.99 on some online retailers like Amazon, so you might be able to get a better deal than even I did. Right on the front they warn you that it doesn't include a USB AC adapter, but you got the PlayStation Mini right here on the front. You got the classic Sony PlayStation dog bone controller there. On the bottom right here you got the original PlayStation logo. It's an HDMI console. We got an advertisement for the games on the side right here. It says, "Are you ready to play?" That's kind of like the classic "Are you ready" campaign that Sony had for the original PlayStation. I still have some demo discs that have that logo on it. I'm a little disappointed actually that they didn't use the URDY logo that they kind of had for some of that. You know, it would have been incredibly 90s, but I think they were trying to go for like the overall original PlayStation packaging to some extent. But 20 incredible games that defined an era. Well, that can be kind of debatable. You know, some folks feel that some of the selection on here wasn't necessarily the best. I agree. I don't think that all of these games are the best representatives of the era. I mean, there's no Crash Bandicoot on here. Like, what were you thinking? But there's certain games on here that I truly did enjoy, and I am kind of looking forward to being able to play them, you know, in 720p, and I am totally going to look at what I can do to mod this thing as well. But out of the games on the back, I remember having a lot of fun with Battle Arena Toshinden. That was a good one. Cool Borders, the entire series was kind of fun. I wasn't really into it that much. Destruction Derby I've actually never played. It's one of those classic games I never got my hands on. Final Fantasy VII is one of my top favorite games of all time, top 20 at least. The original Grand Theft Auto, I didn't really enjoy the first few entries into that series. I didn't really get into it until it was the 3D Grand Theft Auto 3 and everything that came after. Intelligent Cube is actually something that I played the demo for that I always wanted to play the full game, so I'm actually kind of excited about that. I love the Jumping Flash series. I have every title in that series, including the Japanese one. So Metal Gear Solid definitely has a place in this collection. I think that was actually a really good choice for that one. Of course, I love the Metal Gear series. I did not play the last one though. I won't touch anything that is post-Kojima. Mr. Driller, I've heard good things about that. I've never played it, so that's kind of interesting to me. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey is a classic. I love that game. Amazing art style. Same thing could be said about Rayman. Resident Evil Director's Cut, you know, great game. I think it would have been a little more interesting to see Resident Evil 2, considering the reboot just came out, you know, the remake. Revelations Persona, that's a good one. I enjoy the Persona series. Very interesting series of games. Ridge Racer 4, I've played the demo for that. You know, I don't have the full game, so I do now. That's kind of nice. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, I actually have played this game. I had a lot of fun playing that one. So I think that's okay. I don't know if I would necessarily say it was the best. I would not necessarily say it was the best puzzle game to put in this collection, but it's still a very fun game. Siphon Filter, I love that game. I really enjoyed the original Siphon Filter trilogy. Some of the games that kind of came after weren't that great. They were okay. Tekken 3 is good. I know there's some issues with the version that's on this console. It's like the PAL version and it runs slower. So I'll look forward to modding and fixing that. And then Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, I mean, I have no idea why they put that on there at all. Not the first person shooter that I would put on there. If I had to think about what would go on there, I would say probably Doom. Doom would have been a better pick. PlayStation had like a great port of Doom. Twisted Metal is a great game. I felt like the second Twisted Metal was a lot better than the first one, but still great to see Twisted Metal. And I love Wild Arms. Wild Arms is one of my favorite RPGs of all time, so I was very pleased to see that. On the side here you get to see the contents. So it's showing the PlayStation Classic. You've got your two dog bone controllers, your HDMI cables. So good stuff there. And the top has just got some logos on it. Not a whole lot to see there. So let's see what we got inside. Boy, I'm having some trouble getting this one out. There we go. PlayStation logo right there on the front. Alright. And that manual right there is very reminiscent of the manual that comes with your standard PlayStation. So just a standard black and white manual. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to see there. And there we have it. It's so tiny. It's so tiny. I love it. It's got the same sticker, same styled sticker that you would see on the bottom of your PlayStation, the same felt that they put at the bottom. That's where the HDMI and your USB cable goes. I'm hitting this open button, I'm hitting this eject button right here, and I'm expecting this little tray to open, but of course it doesn't. It's not a real CD player, but it's still neat touching the buttons. So you got your player 1 and your player 2 right there. Fake memory card slots right above it. So let's see what we got else in here. And our controllers. Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to compare this to the real deal itself. I've got an original dog bone controller. The feel's quite similar. I don't know if it's exactly the same, I'd say. Buttons feel good, D-pad feels good. Oh yeah. So this is the power supply that I purchased. It's from some company called Superer. I just saw it marketed as a USB adapter that would be compatible. That's pretty decent quality. And let's just make sure that fits. I believe so. Yep, good to go. See, it's not that difficult, Sony. You could have included a USB adapter. So let's check out the case, see how that looks. If you're a fan of the channel, you may be aware that I purchased an NES Classic, an SNES Classic, and got cases for those. Those actually had Nintendo branded cases. These do not have a Sony branded case that accompanies them, but there is the case right there. Oh, there goes all my boxes. Oh, look at that. See? It's right there, real snug. Got my two dog bone controllers. Oh. And some silica just to keep that dry. And we got a nice spot for PlayStation Classic right there. And a nice little spot for our USB adapter and our HDMI cable. So there you have it, folks, the PlayStation Classic. And I think we're going to do some comparisons with the original PlayStation controller. Take a look at that and see what we think. Okay, so this is a PlayStation Classic controller, and this is an original Sony dog bone controller that came with your OG PlayStation. In terms of like the buttons, it's actually a little glossier on the original PlayStation controller. I'm looking at it and like the paint on the buttons is glossier on the original than it is on the PlayStation Classic. In terms of feel, this thing's pretty light. This thing actually feels like it's made out of better plastic. I don't know, it just has a different texture, a different feel. It's slightly heavier, but really they're pretty close. I would like to point out that the original PlayStation controller is slightly larger than this PlayStation Classic controller. It's very minimally different. It does feel different to the touch though. It's pretty close. It's not the same, but it's pretty close. Buttons feel about the same. It's just the finish on the buttons is actually different. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody talk about the buttons having like a different kind of finish on them. This is more of a matte and this is more of a gloss. Kind of a glossy finish on them. But pretty close. So I'm going to have some fun modding this thing and getting it to work the way I want it to. Plugging in a keyboard and, you know, a USB stick and getting some software tweaked on there to what I really want it to be. But there you have it. That's the PlayStation Classic. I do intend to, as I was saying earlier, purchase a patch to put on the front of this. I'm thinking about going with the old school PlayStation logo. When I get that on there, I'll have to take a picture and put it on my Instagram account so everybody can check it out.